Women have a large history in the craft of tattooing. Some names became bigger than others. For women in the 90s, it was still a struggle to get their foot in the door. Today, we sit down with tattoo artist Paula Lopez, who talks about her journey from an apprentice to a successful shop owner in the modern era. Paula from Unlucky Rabbit, Montclair, New Jersey, who's been around for
25 years
as a tattoo artist. Paula, how did you get into tattooing?
Very difficult. I wanted to tattoo. Obviously, when I first started looking to get into tattooing, it was not something that was acceptable for a woman. Like, you could either sleep your way in or clean your way in, or something terrible had to happen for you to get your way into tattooing. And I refused all of the above. And so I only wanted to tattoo based on merit and being able to draw and the desire to tattoo. So it took me a while. You know, you had to just find the right apprenticeship and wait and pray. And yeah, that's how I got into it.
But you started tattooing in New York.
I started tattooing in upstate New York, yes. Not so much in New York City, but upstate New York. And then I ended up in New Jersey, where I still am, yeah.
But you were a big part of the club scene?
I absolutely was, yeah.
Prior to tattooing? Or during?
Prior to tattooing. Okay. Yeah, prior to tattooing, I was a piercer at that time. Because that was like one way to get into the industry at that point, is just to ingratiate yourself into a shop and hope that they see you. You know, because like there literally was very few women tattooers, very few people. I mean, it was hard to get an apprenticeship as it was. So as a woman at that time, it's even less opportunity. So your opportunity lied in becoming a piercer and then hoping you could find your way into a tattoo shop. So I was the piercer who would draw your outlines, draw your tattoos, like run your stencils, do all the stuff for apprenticeship before it was an apprenticeship, like officially for me. Yeah, so.
And where was that at? Where did you serve your apprenticeship?
Modern Age Tattoo in Nanuet, New York.
Did you finish there?
I did finish there.
And then how long did you tattoo there before you went over to the city?
Maybe a year and a half. And then I ended up in New Jersey at a different shop. And then I, would bounce around in New York, New Jersey, but yeah.
Did you work at some of the more well-known shops in New York?
No, guest spots, really. I would just do conventions, meet everybody, and just kind of, that's how most people knew me. Because at that time, I was also juggling having a child. And so, commuting and working, it was just easier to end up more in Jersey at that time.
Right.
Yeah, juggling life. But I know everybody from the New York scene. Like, I used to get tattooed and hang out at New York Adorned, Chris Garver. I'm trying to think who else is over there. I think that Ami James, Scott Harrison, Timothy Hoyer would do guest spots, Troy Denning. So like Mike Rubendahl. So I knew all those guys just from being there and hanging out and having a lot of mutual friends and stuff like that.
And what would you say is your style of tattooing?
That's a good question. Not American traditional. Not in a bad way. Everybody loves doing American traditional. I like to render more illustrative, just very clean, illustrative tattoos. Nothing super fantasy, nothing completely out there. Just like crispy, clean, very easy to read tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of your work this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's definitely that crispy, clean, short of a fine line.
I call it fine line that will actually function and last. I still put in outlines. I've been tattooing long enough that I know how to put in a very fine line that will not fade or be gross in like a year, So, and that's the hardest part is like, you have to learn these things and it takes time to learn these things and you have to be trained properly for these things. Because I've seen it and like everybody always asks like, how do your line work stay good? Learned how to make it look nice and do it properly and how to put a line in.
Yeah, because you see not a lot, but you see some bad fine line tattoos.
I see a lot of bad fine line tattoos.
I was trying to be nice about it.
You don't have to be nice about it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people learning online.
Yeah.
There's things in life that I believe you can learn online, like gardening, pottery, painting. Tattooing is not one of them. You need to see somebody doing it in front of you. You need to have an apprenticeship and see what works, what doesn't work. You also need to see tattoos age. Like every single tattooer out there, the stuff you did when you started, if you look at it now, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you can improve, but you need to see that. A lot of these fine line guys, and I'm not saying everyone, they've been tattooing roughly 10 years or less. They've never seen a tattoo of theirs age past maybe 3 or 4 years. And if it looks terrible in that first 2 years, it's not going to look great in 3 or 4 years. It's going to disappear. It's going to be like a blob of X, Y, and Z. And they don't know that. And I've seen it done. It sucks because they don't want to learn how to do it properly. They don't realize that if you put a line in and it's like done like with a pencil in a sketchy kind of way, that's not going to hold. It looks good the day of the picture. Right. It does not look good, a year from now.
Justin and I on our Sunday night live streams talk about that a lot, where we call it social media tattoos.
Absolutely.
The guys that do these phenomenal tattoos that look great the day of. But then you see 6 months, a year, maybe 2 down the road, and they look like dog shit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're basically saying that's because they don't know how to course correct because they weren't taught properly.
They weren't taught properly. Tattooing is something that you're going to constantly learn. It doesn't matter if you've been tattooing for 2 years, 10 years, 25 years. You have to course correct. You have to learn about skin. You have to learn about all these lovely things. If you are not taught properly from the get-go, if the person teaching you doesn't know how to outline, hasn't seen their tattoos that have older than 3 or 4 years, you shouldn't be teaching someone how to do tattoos. You've only been tattooing for 3 or 4 years. I mean, that'd be like the resident for a doctor basically teaching the med student how to do surgery. It's never going to happen. It doesn't work.
Right.
You
being 25 years into the business, I don't think it's as hard these days for women to break into the business, but if you could give one piece of advice to a woman that's watching that wants to be a tattoo artist, what would your advice be to them?
Don't take the cheap way out. You know what I mean? Don't get a real apprenticeship. It's my advice to anybody who wants to get into tattooing. Get a real apprenticeship. Learn from real people who can do good tattoos. And don't take the cheap way out. Don't sleep your way in. Don't smile and look pretty. Don't do all the things you're not supposed to do. Do it on merit. Put out good work, because that's the only way you're going to last. Because if you don't have the talent, if you don't have the wherewithal to actually keep trying and working harder, it's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, there was a woman, I think it was probably 2 years ago now. It was basically like on social media and YouTube. It was apprenticeship gate is what I think how they put it.
Okay.
And it was a woman that was supposed to be doing an apprenticeship, and she spent all her time making TikTok videos and dancing around and da-da-da. And everybody was like, well, how are you working? What are you learning?
Absolutely.
And then she wound up getting shit canned from her apprenticeship or whatever, and then tried bashing the dude that hired her. But I think there was some other extenuating circumstances. I'm not going to put it all on her. But bottom line is, if you're going to make videos, at least make them of you drawing or tattooing fake skin or learning how to set up or whatever.
Absolutely. You have to put the time in with anything, right? You're not going to be an overnight success. This is definitely not an overnight success situation. You have to put your time in. The person who, has that fantastic social media following of all good tattoos, you know how they got there? They drew a lot of pictures. They put a lot of time in. They learned color theory. They did a lot of tattoos. You know what I mean? This isn't something you can cheat on. It will come out in the end.
For sure.
This is it's not one of those things that you can just put it on and it'll be fine and nobody will notice. You know what I mean? It's like you have to put the work in.
How did you become the only woman pirate?
Because they're scared of me. No, it's literally because I don't take shit. And it had to be that way, because of the way I had to get into tattooing. I didn't take shit. And I just kind of look at them and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. And we all have, it's a lot of that, we just don't give a fuck, but still love and respect tattooing. I love tattooing. I love it as a career. I love what it's, allowed me to do. It's allowed me to go great places, meet amazing people. It's also given me the ability to like send my kid to college. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I just love tattooing. And I don't take shit from them. That's how I became the first pirate. I think I'm the only girl at this point.
So for the people that don't know, there's little cliques that happen inside of tattooing, and there's gypsies and there's pirates, and can't think of any of the other ones out there, but I know quite a few of the pirates.
Yeah, they're all a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they are.
It's a wild bunch. I mean, that's the thing, they're like, how is a pirate? He just like, they pillage, they just come into town, do what they want. They're like the wild child of like tattooing.
But it has a long history.
It absolutely does. But it's, at the base of it, it's people who love the tradition of tattooing and want to share, the story. And like, I tell people, you have to know your history in tattooing because like, these are the people and this is the line that makes you, and like the people that good or bad with anything. But yeah, like this is my family. This is my tattoo family. And like, anybody grows up, who apprenticed you and who apprenticed them and what line. It's like, there's like Bob Shaw, there's like, Tattoos by Louis, all these families. And this is just one of the families.
The lineage thing is I think one of the things that fascinates me the most about the history stuff.
Yeah.
Just, finding an artist and then doing the down the line.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so the person who taught me learned from Louis Lombi, and then I now officially forget who taught him, but it's literally one of the original tattoo families. It's very, it didn't spread. The guy who taught me didn't really teach a lot of people, so yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Instagram, I guess.
What's your Instagram?
What is my Instagram? Oh, unlucky_rabbit LLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you want to reach out to Paula, she's in Montclair, New Jersey. Hit her up on Instagram and, see if you can get some work done. Or see her at one of the many shows that you attend.
Yeah, I'm actually coming back. Took a little bit of break. Tattooing, yeah. I like shows like this. Skin Industry is great. It's a nice, small, family style show, I like to call it.
Yeah, man, everybody's got the opportunity to rub elbows, talk, and there's no egos.
Yes, those are the shows I love to do. I search them out now.
If there was one thing you could change about the craft of tattooing besides apprenticeships, what would you change?
Honestly, the egos. Like, you're no better than me. We're not doing rocket science or curing cancer. We're making beautiful tattoos and making people happy. Like you don't, because you tattoo a certain way does not make you a better person. Mm-hmm. And like, that doesn't mean that I'm not good enough for you to know because I don't have, 100,000 social media followers. You know what I mean? It's like, keep your ego outside. Just let's talk about tattoos and like what we do is still a craft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen tons of local legends, let's call them, that tattoo just as good as any of the million follower people, whatever.
Yeah. And they have they have no respect for where they came from or what came before them. And they need to learn it because it's not just putting a pretty picture like on a person. They're not a canvas. They're human, And that's one of the things, like most of the pirates, which is funny, they have a connection with the people because it's about tattooing to them, Right. And that's one of those things that I feel a lot of people lack, the newer tattooers. They literally treat people like, oh, here's a piece of skin. I'm going to tattoo you. You should be so lucky to have the tattoo that I did. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Somebody last night said that some of the bigger shows, we're not going to mention names, but the big shows, they were saying that they noticed that the people that are even sitting next to each other in the booths don't even talk to each other. Yeah,
that's weird to me. Like, I make friends all the places because I love to know the people. Not because I'm trying to kiss your ass, because I want to know my neighbor,
right.
Like, I like that hometown, like, hey, what's up? Like, just the head nod in the hallway kind of thing. Like, we don't need to be best friends.
Yeah, but even if you're busy, you can throw them work or be like,
absolutely.
Hey, go talk to, so-and-so down here. They're perfect for that.
Yeah.
And, if you're not doing that at a big show, then you're missing out on all that.
They're probably also not doing it at home.
Good point.
Because I joke, I don't do American traditional. The reason I don't do American traditional is because I have so many friends who love doing American traditional. Mm-hmm. If somebody walks into the shop and is like, hey, I want this, I'd be like, I'm not the person for you. I can do it if you really want me to, but this guy loves that shit and he's gonna knock it out of the park. And I would rather you get that tattoo by that guy and then come see me for this.
Right.
Because I have respect for that.
Yeah.
Right
on.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.